Mr. Chair, we are now live and recording, and you can begin whenever you wish.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our committee of the whole meeting for October 10th at 10 a.m. We'd like to welcome everyone. Before we begin, I would like to remind you that the meeting is being recorded and live streamed on our YouTube channel. And I would like to call the roll. Please raise your hand and state your presence when I call your name. Mayor Watson.
I am here.
Deputy Mayor Nelson. Present. Councilor Verboort. Not here, not online?
Not online.
Okay, not present. And Councilor Johnson? Present. Thank you very much. And staff, CEO, Alana Arbers. Clerk, Martina T. Herbert.
Good morning.
Nice to say that, clerk. Now said it right. Very nice. Interim Treasurer Paul Kramer is not with us today, or is he going to be online? He'll be online. Okay, thank you very much. Temporary Chief Building Official, Don Hellman. Thank you. Thank you. Fire Chief Chuck Pedersen. Good morning. And Planner Christina Coulter.
Good morning.
Good morning. Manager of Public Works Jake Condon. Good morning. Good morning. And Manager of Recreational Facilities Mike Mood. Good morning. Perfect. Thank you very much, everyone. With a quorum of committee in attendance, I call the meeting to order. And our land acknowledgement, we respectfully acknowledge that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mishi-Segi Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care and teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. And is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest with the council? Seeing no hands, adoption of the agenda for today then, please. Mayor Watson, Deputy Mayor Nelson. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. All right, we have no delegations, petitions, or presentations today, so we'll get right into the report for the manager updates. And I want to say thank you to you all for getting these into us and having them prepared. We probably have all read them. If there's any changes or additions, go ahead, or maybe we can just touch the highlights and open it up to council questions. So we'll start off with 6.1 Parks and Recreation Department update. Mike, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you guys an update on the Maryvale Park. We had cut some trees down there that were coming hatchet. They were ash trees that the ash borer had killed. And we also cut a couple at Antonia Park that were over the playground area in doing so. But we had we figured it was good timing to do it in Maryvale right now because we have 20 planting. So 5 new trees will be getting planted there in the next few weeks. Just if you have comments or concerns from the public that they got cut down. The other thing is we're working on trying to do a grand opening event for the pickleball courts. Hopefully we'll have some tentative dates by the end of this week circulated to you guys to see what works best.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Questions, comments from council? Mayor Watson, go ahead, please.
Thank you through the chair to Mr. Mayor Mike. A couple of questions I jotted down here. I saw in your report that there's now fiber at the Douro Community Center through Nexicom. So I know we talked about this in the past about having wider access to Wi-Fi in the building for users of the facility. Is that going to be easier now to accommodate with the fiber online?
Through the chair to Mayor Watson. Yeah, it will definitely help. I know we're on a 50 gigabytes a minute, or yeah, 50 gigabytes. So it's still a limit, the number of people that are in it. It is substantially increased from the 3 we prior had. So we're gonna go see how that goes. We do have the ability to expand that, but obviously each time we expand, it's more money. So we'll just see how it goes with that. And then we have posted some signage around the facilities with the actual password for the Wi-Fi, so anybody can access it.
Great, thank you. A couple of other questions. Still on the DCC community center, specifically the water filling stations. I can't remember if I saw them or not the last time I was in there. Have they been installed that, I didn't see that listed as a capital item or?
Through the chair to Mayor Watson, no, we have not done that. We were never given a formal, I guess, go ahead to do that.
Oh,
That I'm aware of, but I know we're going to use some of the craft talk money towards that. And I did get some pricing, but I never did get the final go ahead that I'm aware of. And if I did, then my apologies.
thank you for that. I'm not sure, I'm not on that budget, but maybe look into that. For that, I don't know who would be to go ahead on that. Is it Minor Hockey that's going to be approving that? Is the Hockeyville people, or I'm not sure how that program worked for funding.
I think last time we just, they submitted a request and then it came to council for your approval. And for the dressing rooms and hockey nets. So we can recirculate this through to get them to do that again, or we can put forth a request or a recommendation and make sure that they're okay.
Yeah, either way, we can look into it further. I thought it was something that they were looking for, so thank you for that. And lastly, you mentioned even verbally, Mike, about the pickleball opening and that the overall South Park revitalization project is now complete. I'm assuming, but hopefully that that was all within budget. There was no request to come to council for additional funds or anything, but will we see some final report on that? So we can see where we sit with the, I know it was funded partially through the federal government, like what we're looking at and the numbers on that in the report.
Through the chair to Mayor Watson, yeah, I can work with Paul on getting together a report to bring back to council.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. That's it.
Any other questions?
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, Mike, I want to know how the hockey is going as far as the ice rentals and the advertisements and that. Where we stand on that ice rentals, are they pretty well packed away? Like, everything all booked up pretty good?
Through the chair to Councillor Johnson. Yeah, we do have a number of like bookings. I think we're consistent with other years for sure. We do have a couple little gaps that we typically have in the past. It's Sunday mornings in Warsaw. It's typically the hardest time to fill. But other than that, we are on par, if not a little bit better than previous years for sure.
Okay.
The advertisement, it's been sent out to some like all of the existing people so far. We just finished our one-page summary that I have to review to send out to new users. We've received some comments back of which the people looking forward to sponsoring some public skates. So we're just in the midst of trying to pull that together and put it into our system right now. But they have been sent out to all the existing users.
And are the ball fields, are they pretty well done for the year?
Yes, that's correct.
Anything you got to do as far as cold and that?
We'll have to winterize the new facility properly this year, and we just have to cut all the grass probably one more time, and then we'll be locking up the gates for the season.
All right, thank you.
Mike, excuse me. You good, Deputy Mayor? Okay, just a couple of things, like, the garden out here that Donna came about, I saw the staff and they're working with stuff like that, it's coming along pretty good. Does it have to go back further, like all those reeds, stuff like that, to find what we're talking about, or, but that'll be a work in progress for sure, but I think it is on the way, I see, so.
Yeah, for sure.
That's all good.
Yes.
Okay, and my other question, or not a question, a comment, if you could pass on from all council, please. Roger Maloney donating the new bleachers out there, we'll pass on. Thank you very much from council for that. Okay, and that's good for me then. All good, and if I could have a motion to receive that, to report with thanks. Councilor Johnson, Deputy Mayor Nelson, all in favor? Carried, thank you very much, Mike. And I might as well say right up front here, if there's, once your session's done, if you have pressing things to go to, don't feel bad to get up and leave. If you want to stay for the whole meeting, because there's other things in here, just to see what's going on with the departments, not a problem, but you're more than welcome to, if pressing things are needed. So, all right, we're moving on to our next one, and I believe if I'm correct, that would be our Public Works. Jake, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, through the chair. I'll just touch on a few of the high level projects. We've had, our surface treatment contract has been in, completed our 6 surface treatment projects that we had for 2023. Our annual gravel applications have been completed. We're starting, our fall grading is underway now. It was getting quite dry, so the rain was a welcome thing. It was getting quite dry out there, but it can stop at any time now, so so we can get these projects done. That's kind of the high level stuff on our, we did send some staff for load securement training. We're taking advantage of some of these training opportunities that are put on through the county of Peterborough. On the waste side, we had our household hazardous waste event August 12th. And the green waste, yard waste bin at the Warsaw shop will be there till approximately the first week of November, depending on the weather, see how the weather holds up and what the changes. One other side note, I just attended one of our local road supervisor meetings last Thursday. In that meeting, I accepted the vice president role of that, our local association. And the president was at the AOR's meeting, and the provincial rodeo that takes place usually in different townships or municipalities. We have our local rodeo, but then there's the provincial, which is province-wide. This local area or local association is going to be hosting that this year. So some big news there. It's going to bring a lot of people here. We're just starting the talks, but hopefully we have something maybe in our municipality that will be large enough to host that. So that's about it.
Good. Thank you. Questions, comments from staff or from council?
Yeah,
Mr. Nelson.
thanks through the chair. Thanks for your report, Jake. A couple of questions I have. Jake, was this end of Division Road ever looked at for? I know we had some definite difficult problems there, and the county also had some difficult problems that year with companies that were supplying surface treatment. Was that ever looked at as far as, I know we had a little chat about it, but was it ever looked at as far as maybe including it just to update that and hopefully get a code on it before it gets worse?
Yeah, it is in the, sorry, through the chair to the deputy mayor. We have that on our radar. We did try to get some warranty out of that project. Time just lapsed and it was no fault of anybody's really. It was just too much time had passed and we couldn't get that under warranty. So it is the next section of division that is on the list to get. We did do some asphalt patching down near the bridge. So my plan is to maybe put some more asphalt up farther, fix some bad spots, and then we can get a coat on the whole section from Carlo to basically the third line.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that, Jake. Another question is, has our excavator arrived or is it in the works of coming, or just curious?
It is at the the local branch here in Peterborough, and I was talking to the salesman last week. They're waiting for the brush head, which comes from out west. It's kind of been delayed, I guess, where manufacturing is behind. But I see it is there. It has been moving around the yard, so they're doing what they need to do or can do prior to the brush head arriving. So it is in stock and it will be ready as soon as that brush head comes in.
Okay, great, thanks.
Just-
Awesome.
Thank you, through you. Congratulations on
Thank you.
President, Vice Chair of the local group. I really just wanted to pass along thanks from folks in the community in general. I'm hearing from people still, you know, about how the roads have been over the past several months, and they're happy with the shape of the roads and the ditching being done. It feels good, you know, like we've come a long way, but it's yeah, lots of folks are commenting positively about the shape of the roads in general. Maybe the weather's had a bit of play in that as well. Certainly on the dust this year wasn't a big problem, but folks are generally happy with that, so I just want to pass that along.
Thank you.
No good?
It's just a couple, if I may, please, Jake. I know I made a couple of calls to you about, in a Carvest Marina. First one was the recycling, and I know you got that one straightened out, and then the next thing was garbage, so that also has been rectified and fixed up, and they're on their side, or?
Through you, we have been fielding some waste collection calls, widespread waste collection calls through the township. We are working internally to rectify that, try to get an answer from the contractor and get some concrete answers and get some process that they're doing something to rectify the situation. We have, that particular instance was looked after and dealt with, but they are seeming to pop up a little more regularly around here, so we are dealing with it internally and hopefully come to a conclusion.
Thank you. And my other question is just because they're nosy. See a couple of big culverts up in the back of the public works up there. Where are they for?
That's going to Douro third line, just north of County Road 4, in between the County Road 4 and Center Road. That culvert's needs to be replaced on our culvert inspection report that came back. So that's our last project of the year. So
No, I appreciate that. It was just more like a nosy thing, whatever. But, okay. Any other questions from council?
No, just.
Then we'll take a
Thanks for the
motion
report.
to receive your thanks. Deputy Mayor Nelson, Councilor Johnson, all in favor? Yes, thank you very much, Jake. Okay, on to our next, and that will be our fire department update. Chuck, the floor is yours. Thank you.
I'll come up here since I'm a little away from everybody. Doesn't mean I'm gonna be long.
Let's tuck in.
So good morning. So yeah, I won't go over everything in the report, but I did want to highlight a few things and maybe add just a couple comments. So we were able to have our graduation this year for the recruits in Norway at the UETA, and we had 6 graduates that successfully completed their education and their skills and their testing. So they're off to certification land now. So we have a couple more courses for them to be finalized, but they're in the process there now. So that's great news for us. You're probably aware that our new pump 2 at Station 2 in Douro is in service, and our old pump 2, the 2000 GMC, is on gov deals. It closes October 18th. So hopefully give some money back into the budget for that purchase to follow. We have submitted our final round of legacy applications for the legislative requirements for certification for firefighters. So we did a sample batch on the first round back in June, and we were successful with all of those. So we have submitted all the remaining ones, and we're waiting for our audit now to see what records they want. So hopefully we're successful with that. Again, once we have that compiled, then we'll understand what certification impacts we'll have with the Douro-Dummer Fire Services, and we'll work on that plan on how to achieve compliance by 2026 for the first number of certifications, and then 2028 for the final round of certification. But I think we're in pretty good shape. All of our new hires are going to recruit class, and they are being certified. There's a couple that they've added in with pump ops and stuff like that we haven't done the certification for, but we're hopeful that we're in pretty good shape for the practice that we have been doing. And the fire marshal likes our records and our training stuff for our audits. So that's all good news, but we'll fully understand the impact once we have the this final round of results. The province launched their first provincial smoke alarm day. So we did test ours. So if you saw the messaging, we did try to support that. But if you did forget or didn't have a chance to, it is Fire Prevention Week this week. It is focused on cooking safety. But it's always a good time to test your smoke alarms and make sure that they're in working order. We will be in the schools later this month. And one thing I didn't put on the report here is our paging project, which we've talked about a few times. Our last meeting was last Thursday, so we should have our final proposal within the next 2 weeks. And hopefully that will be finalized and behind us and be brought to all the members of council throughout the county, and we can move ahead with that. Important project. It's been a big one to try to get all the pieces and all the components of that. So that will be good. As far as fire response, we're still running, we seem to be running average just under 50%. Sometimes it's a little bit over. For this quarter, it's 44% of medical calls. And we're about 10 calls over the previous year to this year. So we're not too far off. And for upcoming, I know council has asked for a false alarm bylaw update. So that is completed and will be at your next council meeting. So that's all I have to say. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Questions, council?
Thank you, through the chair. Chief, thank you for touching on the false alarms bylaw or policy coming forward. I was going to touch base on that. The other piece that I wanted to chat about was whether or not there is any ability within provincial standards to be able to charge for medical calls, similar to how PRHC bills for an ambulance fee. Thinking specifically around those medical calls and how I know we're in this quandary. It's great that our volunteer firefighters can respond to those calls. I know that they're not necessarily transporting to hospital at that point in time, but is there something that we can do to recoup on that, to almost put pressure back on the province to help address the ambulance issues that we have, right? And is there a way that we can do that, or have we looked at that?
Through the chair to Mayor Watson, there are some arrangements in other jurisdictions of the province that do have those types of agreements. I'd have to really research that to find out, how that is or why that is. We haven't had anything such thing. Our medical responses to our Douro County Mutual Aid program. So there is no caveat to do that at this time, but I can certainly try to do some research on that, see what options might be available, and see what that may look like. I'm happy to bring that to a chief's meeting and maybe talk to our association to see, what are the other jurisdictions doing and how they're doing it.
I mean, just to comment on that a little bit, I think it would be useful information. It's a useful dialogue to start even having anecdotally, nothing formal, but to get an understanding of medical calls as relates to volunteer fire departments like ours, where they're resource intense, and when recruitment and attraction is an ongoing challenge, these are the calls that don't necessarily thrill volunteers to go to, and should our resources be on those calls, as the first responders there when we have emergency personnel to do that from an ambulance standpoint. So just some food for thought, but trying to see how we can not just recoup our costs, but send a message to the right people that how ambulance models are being funded and deployed are needing some sort of revamp. And that's not to speak poorly about Peterborough Paramedic Service, right, that the county runs, because I know we see their reports of the county, and they're doing great work. And they're kind of stuck, caught up at hospital with patient offload times and all the other challenges that flow into this. And I feel that volunteer firefighters are the stopgap, and we don't necessarily need to be, or we shouldn't have to be for that. So.
Yeah, let me just add to that. Not that this would be involved in the billing, but maybe some demand there is through the new dispatching that's coming through the province. I think, I understand our dispatch, not our fire dispatch, but our ambulance dispatch. I think we're the last one that's gonna be updated, so it may still be a couple years away. But with that new program, there's new questioning and new priorities. Right now, the system, once it's committed, it's kind of committed, and there's, you know, situation changes, it doesn't reflect as much as the new system will, which may, which may update sometimes. For example, you may get a shortness of breath because the person's in pain, but not really, they're short of breath because they're in pain, but it's not really a shortness of breath type of call. So that might get filtered out later, where we may not have been tiered originally. We are now, because as soon as that shortness of breath comes in, that's one of the criteria that we have. So in the future, that may get filtered out a little bit more to say, well, I've been short of breath for 10 years, so is it really an emergency? Where that doesn't get captured as much now. So there may be some relief coming, but we're still, my understanding is our CAC dispatch is one of the last ones in the province to be transferred over to that system, but it may help a little bit of that as well with the volume.
Fair enough, thank you.
Any questions?
Thanks, Chuck, for your report.
And through the chair, I got really no question except the fact is that as a volunteer, our group, we got a good list of them now, so we kind of attack where you want to be.
Yeah, so through the chair, yes, we have, we're actually not, we're opening for recruitment for pre-fire service students, that's placement. Our roster is currently full. So we actually will be taking any, as of right now, we're not taking any new recruits. We have a little bit of capacity that extends past our normal 60, and we're at that capacity right now. So we're in good shape so as of right now.
Just one question if I could, please, and your graph here, and normally, the medical calls are the highest, whatever, but the next one is other. Can you give us just a little bit of a brief on what other may involve?
Sure, so, yeah, and you'll see this from quarter to quarter change a little bit because it's grouping, there's so many call types. So these are grouping them to try to fit it on a chart that's reasonable. So there's a lot of, like, even on a fire call here, that's not listed because the number is lower. So it really is grouping a lot of the different call types, and they try to put into a graph here that will, at least you can read it. If we try to graph all those types of calls, it gets so busy that you can't actually see what's going on in the chart. So there's hundreds of different call types, and so we're trying to narrow it down into this. So you'll see that other it will change from time to time depending on what the grouping is. Like it has to capture a certain percentage before it makes its own bar, if you will. So that's kind of it. That other changes depending on the quarter based on the call type. Like I said, there's hundreds of call types that we have categories. So that will fluctuate.
Thank you. Just out of curiosity, and I probably should have done this right to start. If staff has any questions to ask a different department, don't feel, feel free to chime in because departments do interact with each other. And there may be some comments or questions that would be helpful to council or that you need to know yourself. So is there any questions from staff for the fire department? No? Okay, all good. Motion to receive with thanks, and please. Mayor Watson, Deputy Mayor Nelson, all in favor. Thank you, Chuck. Much appreciated. Okay. Dawn, you're off the podium.
Thank you. So as you had already alluded to, you probably read the report, just go over some high level, some numbers for you where we stand currently. So one of the things that we had is we have 80 permits issued since our last committee of the whole report. So that puts our annual number up to 180 year-to-date permits issued. So we're only 15 off what our total issued for last year in 2022 was. So with the last quarter remaining, we expect to exceed what we issued last year in permits, which is nice to see. We still currently have 35 in review, but approximately 10 of those are some older permits that are kind of, we're waiting for, they're either waiting for additional information, so maybe it's a TSW permit or something that they're, until they get that information to us, there's not much more we can do. We do try to monitor them and kind of check in with them and see if there's anything that we can help with, or making sure that they at least know that the ball's kind of back in their court. So that's where we're at now with 35 in review. We've had 19 bylaw complaints since our last committee of the whole meeting, and some of them are actionable bylaw complaints. Some of them, there's not much that the department can do. We just deliver that information to them, excuse me. And then probably the one thing that we should discuss is that our building department administrator position closed on September 29th. We've identified the applicants that we wish to interview. The interviews are being set up for next week, Tuesday and Wednesday currently. And so we hope to see a new staff member soon, and help the building department get through and get set up through the winter, look to a really promising spring. And then other than that, if there's any questions.
Any questions from council? Go ahead, Mayor Watson.
Through you. Mr. Holland, tell me about a sign bylaw. I know we talked about this and that there might be one coming forward this fall. Is that still on the docket?
Through the chair. There is. We hope to, we have a few things that we're hoping to bring in front of council within the next month, just as we've gone through our budgeting. So we have a few different fee adjustments that we're making, a sign bylaw that we hope to see get put into place. Sorry, there's another bylaw that we have our zoning bylaw, there's a section that we're hoping to amend and get it in front of council and that for a public meeting. So it is something that we have, and just working on finalizing, making sure that we encompass the sign, like just getting it structured appropriately, that we don't have to revisit it. We redid our secondary dwelling unit one just not too long ago, and now when we put it into place and it seems to work really well, we put a lot of thought into that. And so we're just trying to make sure that we have the same stuff, the signs that we know we don't have to touch to begin with that, but it is something that will be coming forward in the near future.
Fair enough, thank you. And then on the other bylaws, was an animal control, I know about 2 years ago, maybe now, there was a very broad animal control bylaw that was brought forward that looked at everything from dogs to backyard chickens and everything in between. It was like Noah's Ark of bylaws. Are we looking at something like that again? Like, because I know that wasn't passed at the time, but is a comprehensive animal control bylaw something that would be coming forward in the future?
It's not something, so I think all of our bylaws are on our radar as the administration to look at, reestablish. We have some older bylaws that we just need to get revamped. And so bylaws are is something that we're focusing on. I don't have anything specific for that's in front of me for like backyard chickens and stuff, but it is something that we're happy to make sure that we continue to push forward on.
Yeah, I know, and through the chair, just on that, like, it's not, I'm just wondering, like, what, I don't recall then what the impetus was to create such a broad animal control bylaw. I don't know if there have been concerns since that was tabled and never passed on, pet snakes and exotic animals and backyard chickens, like if that's even a concern right now that we need to be addressing, or if we're better off just keeping the, dogs running at large, which we ended up passing at that point in time, or if we even need to look at anything much more comprehensive.
Through you, Chair. In the complaints that we have for bylaw currently, I would say that there's nothing that would fall under that bylaw. Basically, we want to be proactive rather than reactive as far as seeing it as a municipality and what we can do better. It just probably doesn't take precedence right now, and some of the other things that we're trying to get through. But definitely, like I say, we'll keep that in mind, and as we work towards revamping a lot of our bylaws, we'll see if we need to implement something that's a little more all-encompassing.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Mayor Nelson.
Yeah, through the chair, just something I want to pass on to you, Don. I've heard some really good comments about staff, and it's nice to hear that, and just how helpful two of your staff particular work was to a couple of different customers. And anyway, so I want to pass that on, and they need to be passed on to them as well. I did actually pass it on to one of them that I was speaking to, Mr. Smith, and anyways, so that's nice to hear. And especially after the rough time that we went through, and anyway, so I pass that on to you, and thanks for hopefully turning this around, that people have pride in their township and speak nice things about our building department. I know it's a tough job, so thanks.
Mr. Johnson.
To the chair. I still want to be refreshed about dead animals. When people lose a calf or a sheep or whatever it be. My understanding, they're just supposed to take a picture and send it in or whatever it be. And then, especially on the weekends and that. What about during the week? Are these things that you guys visit, the building department visit, and then check out that? Because I mean, I get calls, I haven't had any in the last couple of weeks, but I get called periodically, and some people have just given up on trying to get response of what they should do in that. And I think that's something that we've got to put in our newsletter when we send it out again, of what procedure goes on, who they can call and stuff like that. So maybe just give me a refreshing of what we do.
Through the chair, absolutely. It is something that the building department still manages. We don't have coverage for the weekends as it's done through the building department. But when we receive a call that would come in through our administrator or through that general delivery mailbox, the claim gets handled through one of the building officials. There's a form that we print out. We contact the person who submitted the claim. We attend the site. If it is over the weekend, they should take pictures. The program really comes down to, we're trying to verify that it was a predator that caused the loss of life, not, for instance, a stillborn or, poor conditions. And so the more photo evidence that we have that can document that, the better. The quicker we respond, the better. We respond the exact day that we get the claim. So if the claim comes in the morning, it gets scheduled, or afternoon, as long as the inspector's out and we can get them to the site, we actually prioritize it ahead of our building inspections, because we have a little bit more leeway with our building inspections, where we want to serve that customer. It is something that we would like to see it not stay within the building department. So we do it because our other inspectors have retired, but we are looking at trying to reach out to a few different farmers in the area that can probably serve the farmer better, especially giving that weekend and nighttime attention to better than the building department can.
So the protocol is strictly just to, again, call the office.
Yes, call the office.
If possible, take a picture of what's happening there.
Reporting it as soon as it happens is the best. And again, the more pictures they have, the better. So yes, take a picture, but don't wait to phone us. Don't wait to inform us. So it is the inspector who attends does have to sign a declaration of what they've seen. So though those pictures would still be submitted on their behalf, the inspector has to talk about the site as they saw it when they attended. So the sooner we get there, the sooner they contact us, the better.
Well, I didn't know that in a lot of cases that they waited and then went back out and pretty well everything's gone.
And it does happen.
That's what happens. Okay, well, I just need to reassure that the people know who to call and what to do, because they're pretty upset. That's what I get, but without anything showing, they got no recourse. Okay.
Mayor Watson.
Through the chair, just picking up on the conversation about livestock evaluators. So Don, are you saying that that if we had members within the community who, put their hand up and said, I can be a livestock evaluator, that we would be able to resume this service? I know before none of them, the previous livestock evaluators chose to not put their hand up and do it again in the future, right? Is it simply a matter of we need to put a call out to the community, to the local farming community to find livestock evaluators? Is that? Well, here.
Through the chair, yes, I think, as simply put, that is that if people in the community, and probably more so farmers, would better serve the other farmers to get to helping them at the time in which they need it, as we're governed within our working hours. So yes, and we're working on trying to identify some of them. So we have two that we've identified that we're going to be reaching out to. Just again, not formally as much as just trying to let them know what the community needs. So absolutely, if it is an alcohol that goes out, it's something that they can do. There's some forcing for them to do, but don't feel that it's too burdensome, and they probably be able to get through it.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions from council? Questions from staff?
Thank you, through the chair. Just further to what John had said, there is some training that would be conducted. There is still a liability component on the municipality. So to put out, a call for farmers and have 20 that want to take part, and, it's not, there's not huge compensation, but there is some, but we want to ensure that they were trained appropriately and they were very clear in the process and all that kind of thing. So just so we're clear on that, it can't be just anybody to come in. I know the building department would like to have somebody else manage it, and we'll work towards that. We certainly want to make sure they're trained to manage the paperwork and submit everything on our behalf.
Any other questions from staff? They just have one, if I could, please, and I see it listed here in the broad sense, animals, property standards, etc. I thought I read somewhere where we're getting pretty well down on the property standards ones. They're getting cleaned up pretty good. Is that correct? I think there's still one that I know, but so my question being on that is, does the person that put in the request to have this looked at get updated when things are happening, kind like that, or is that just something they put it in and then that's that the department handles it and that's kind of the end of it?
Thank you. Typically what we would do is once the complaint has been received, we only notify that we have received it and that we're dealing with it. We don't typically offer follow-ups. If we're monitoring how our bylaws is being handled and what kind of follow-up we're getting from the complainant. And if we feel that we need to give a better explanation, then that's something that we're looking at as our internal policy on how we deal with it. And it's something that's not lost on us, that potentially at least letting the complainant know that not only have we received their complaint, but whether it is or is not valid. And so once we come to a determination on the validity of it, then at least reaching back out and letting the complainant know that there's no action for us to take. On the flip side of that would be letting them know that there is action for us to take and we are on it. And I think that's the one that we're still just working through is what level that we're going to be communicating with the complainant and not see it escalate.
That's good. All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Then I will take a motion to receive the thanks. Mayor Watson, Deputy Mayor Nelson, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, Don. Thank you. Okay, moving right along. I guess the next one would be our planning department. So Christina, floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Watt and members of the committee. I won't go through my report. You have it before you. I'll highlight a couple of things. One is that we have paused the rollout of the cloud permit planning module. I'll give Don a hard time just because you don't have to stay, you can leave. We are in the process of hiring a building and planning administrator, even though there's only 20% planning. So it is slowing down our administrative aspect in the planning department. So we've paused that cloud permit rollout, hoping that the new successful candidate will be able to take the lead on that and at the same time learn the cloud permit planning module. And we are prioritizing our planning applications that are paid ahead of that process. The other addition would be under our pre-consultations. We now have a second one scheduled for October. So that will bring 29 to date by the end of October. The pre-consultations do take quite a bit of time preparing for the meeting. We generally hold no more than 3 per meeting, and one of the delays that we are experiencing right now is the getting the final notes back out, and that again is due to the lack of somebody in the administrative role to help with that process. And I think those are the only things that I would really highlight, other than we're looking forward to filling the building and planning administrator role.
Thank you. Questions for council? Mayor Watson.
Through the chair, Ms. Coulter, I perhaps heard you incorrectly. You said there are 29 pre-consultations thus far that have been booked since January, year to date, and you try to hold only 3 per month? Is that, okay, so I think I heard you wrongly, and I just wanted to clarify that. So we're pretty much on par-ish then for the year as to where we are with the numbers. Okay, well, thank you.
Questions from staff? No, seeing none. If I may, please, Christina. And I know I brought this up before, that, and I know it's a big program, this cloud permit, but if somehow, someday, some meeting, whatever, council could just get a really, really quick, Cole's notes overview of how cloud permit works. We get a lot of questions on it, I'm sure, at least I do. I mean, people come back and one of the things they got, well, I submitted everything in, but I don't know if it's all there. Like, is there a component in there that tells them they're still missing something? And it's a learning thing for the people out there too, and especially in our township where we have a lot of people that still don't even have a computer in their house, never mind a smartphone or anything else. So it's like, oh, I don't know if it's all there, if it's not all there, but maybe if it's not all there, and I know we talked about it before, after a week, there's been no, and I'm gonna say five business days, and I got, if there's been nothing back and forth, that person gets a call, say, hey, you're still missing this, so there is a follow-up on to do it, but, like, I would love to know, just like I say, a Cole's version of how this works, like, just a really, really quick and dirty. I don't want to be elaborate, and I know it's a big program, so but I think it would be beneficial for council, just a quick, about Sunday, there's no big rush on it, but that's really all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. We'd be happy to do that in the building and planning department. I know when we have individuals who are struggling and they're not sure, just last week, we had someone who set them up on their computer, and I helped them through the process. Once you start using it, you realize where to look for the things. It's something that as you become more familiar, it does get easier, but for the first time, and I agree, if you don't have a computer, we do bring folks in, have them submit their paper copy, and we also assist them with filling it out online or doing it for them so that they can see the process. So I would, if you wanted to come individually into the department and schedule a couple hours just to sit down, or if you wanted it as a council training session, I'd look to our clerk or our CAO as to how to organize that, but we'd be happy to.
All right, I appreciate that, and thank you very much for the pre-consultations. I do hear a lot of good comments, not because people do have a lot of questions, like, and things change so often. It's like, what happened 20 years ago doesn't happen now. Somebody wants to build a new garage and they, oh, what do I have to do now compared to what I did then, kind of like that. So the pre-consultations really do help a lot of people, so thank you for that. Mayor Watson, I did see your hand come on. Go ahead.
Yes. Through the chair, on cloud permit, you raised a really great point to show council. I wonder if, people who use it all the time, like contractors, have no problem because the other municipalities are using cloud permit and they're very familiar with it. And the one time that a homeowner tries to go through it is probably the one and only time that they're, like, how often is somebody getting a building permit in general, like doing work that would require one? So I wonder if even outside of just giving us as council an idea as to what cloud permit looks like in the back end, if you're uploading a request or what have you, almost recording a little session for like a YouTube video that can be posted on the website, that unless there's already one there, but like that talks about it. Because I know even personally, I was using cloud permit to apply for a building permit, and as a homeowner, even like, it's like, well, I don't have a designer, I don't have these things, like, what do I do now, right? And what buttons do I click? And it's not terribly clear for if on the DIY side, they're gonna see like lots of nods.
Yeah,
So
no, it's great. I'm glad that
it's in play.
Thank you, through you. I'm glad that you brought it up. Just the end of last week, probably Wednesday, we had a little bit of support from Tara before she left for another position, and we have uploaded links to videos on how to directly from our building page. So there's all kinds of helpful videos that are prepared by Cloud Permit directly. So it takes you to their site and guides you through for those. So there's links on there. They're brand new, but thank you for raising that point.
Awesome. Great to hear it's underway.
Any other questions, comments from council? Staff? All right, I will take a motion to receive the thanks. Councilor Johnson, Deputy Mayor Nelson, all in favor? Very good, thank you very much, Christina. All right, moving on, we have Paul up next with our finance, and I'm guessing these areas online. Thank you very much, Paul, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, so for the finance report, there's obviously a lot going on. But the main thing right now for us is budget season. And so a lot of my focus and some of our other staff's focus is focused on budget. The kind of timeline to get you guys the report for first draft is sneaking up ever so quickly. So that's really our focus right now. There's obviously other stuff going on. We've had some tax sales in the past week, past 3 weeks, which we're kind of demanding on time. Making sure we're on top of all our grant reporting, monitoring grants coming in or potential grants. And yeah, I want to say that there was more variety, but it's really been budget. So I'll open the floor to any questions.
All right, thank you very much, Paul. Mayor Watson.
Through the chair to Mr. Creamer, hello, good morning. Year-end audit, I had to scratch my head. Is this a typo in the report that it's 2021 audit? Because I thought it was already complete for 2021 and maybe hoping that this should say 2022 is substantially completed. Can you jog my memory on that one, please, sir?
Through you, Chair, to Mayor Watson, the statements that were presented in the summer were 2020. And then the auditors came back pretty much, within a month after that to work on 2021. There's just really a few minor items that we need to clarify and balance and reconcile at this point. It's like I said, it's a balance between getting you guys the first draft of the budget. Usually that's my peak in terms of workload, is getting the first draft out. After that, it's tweaking it, and there's still obviously work involved, but it's the pressure point is off a little bit. And so I will be returning to the audit, getting them the information, and they should be able to finish the statements fairly quickly after that, I would think. It does put us behind my initial plan schedule of having 2022 completed by the end of the year, likely. But it's, we're working with the resources we have. And I think it's always, I may have overestimated how much I would be able to do when the auditors presented the last statements. I think they pointed out that it would be a big achievement to do 3 audits in 6 months. So 2, definitely. And then we are starting work and making sure that we will be ready for the 2022 audit. So even though I owe a few things on 2021, we are looking at all the items for 2022 in advance of the auditors even booking a date and being completed 2021.
Great, thank you for that. I appreciate your candor in your stating about the overly ambitious goal of getting 3 done in 1 year. I appreciate and understand, and it's a lot of work to make happen in addition to all the other things with budget particularly. So what I'm hearing is 2022, it sounds like it is, although not underway, it's very kind of topical and with meetings in the queue to get it worked on. I'm assuming once the budget is passed in the new year. Is that reasonable?
Through you, Chair, to Mayor Watson, I think that's a reasonable summary at this point in time. I think it's a little bit of the approach in my mind. I need to get one thing done at a time, and once we get 2021 done, then I can book the auditors back for 2022. But it's hard for me to book them in without 2021 completed.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions from council? Staff? Dwindling down, but.
And then there was one.
Paul, just a real quick, if I could, please, and I noticed you mentioned in here this past week with, tax sales. Is there, and maybe our two ladies here might want to chime in on this, because maybe it's something that can we, as council, have an update when something is coming up for a tax sale? A quick email saying, hey, this property's coming up, through the township now, because I saw this after, when I was just on the website, I just happened to see it, but again, like a lot of people not on the website all that often, but it'd be nice to know if somebody said, oh, see, you got some property for sale, do you know where it is, or do you know anything about it, or stuff like that, and then of course I have to go on and look it up, because I don't know anything about it, but at least if I had a heads up that we had something coming up, I could maybe just peruse it quick in case I do have a question or two, so is that possible for council to have that email when a property comes up for tax sale?
Through Chair, definitely possible to notify you. I think what we may need to do is have a discussion as well around what information we can provide regarding the property. It's important to remember we're only facilitating the process. We aren't, there's a misconception a lot of times that we are the ones selling the property. I understand it. It's kind of one and the same, but we are only facilitating the process. We don't necessarily take responsibility for what is on the property, for anything transpiring regarding the sale. The onus falls on anyone who is placing a bid to do their own research. And we do actually need to be quite careful around what information we provide regarding the property.
All right, no, I appreciate that. It was more just like for this particular one that was, I think it was off County Road 40, whatever like that, but property sale tax, property tax sale upcoming for County Road 40 property. And that's all I need to know, kind of like that. I don't need to know who it is, what it is, what the, we can look up all the other information on it. Just the fact that there is one in the near future that is coming up, and that's kind of all I'd like to see.
Definitely, we can do that.
Thank you. Any other quick? Martina, go
To
ahead.
you, Chair, one item that council can do to stay more up to date on the website is we do have a subscribe feature. And I'm happy to sit with everyone and get you subscribed to the website, and it will automatically send you email updates anytime something new is posted to the website. You can do it for all topics, topics you're more interested in, whether it's planning, taxes, the environment, whatever you like. But that is a feature built into our website, and quite a few of our residents use it. I think we have over 250 subscribers actually. So
Very good.
pretty popular.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Any other questions, comments? That I will receive a motion to receive with thanks. Deputy Mayor Nelson, Mayor Watson. All in favor? Thanks, Paul. Thanks, appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day. And moving on. Clerk's Department.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we have my report in front of you. It has been a busy quarter. We've had a lot of meetings this year, as you can see from our tally there. So I won't go over all of them. But just to highlight that the Clerk's Department is taking over the Police Service Board meetings. Those were previously done by Caroline, but now that she's retired, we are taking those over. So that's new for us and quite exciting. As well, we've also taken over the issuance of lottery licenses. Caroline had done those as well, but we're taking those over. And as part of that, we're also looking at some new ways to deliver that service to the community. So 2024, you'll probably get a report about some changes we're making to that process, just to make it more modern and ensure that we're meeting all of our compliance requirements. On the complaints front, we've had 16 complaints so far this year, 15 have been resolved. One we just got last week, so that's why it's outstanding, so we're still working on that. Working on the strat plan with Alana and our consulting team, but I'll leave that to Alana to talk about. Our legislative services assistant had left us in August to pursue a new position at the city of Peterborough. So we're very excited for her, but we do miss her. And we have completed the recruitment cycle for that position, and our new employee is joining the team on Monday of next week. So very excited to have this person join us. It's local resident, which is exciting to see, and I'm excited to introduce her to all of you when she's here. So. And I think that's all I have for you, unless there's questions.
Questions, comments from council?
Just a comment on that position. You did say that she did work here part-time When they goes around.
Yeah, so yeah, a successful applicant had worked here in 2018 as a mat leave cover, and then has worked with some other municipalities in the meantime, so has quite a bit of experience to bring back to us, which is great.
Very good, very good. Yes, Mayor Watson.
Through you, Madam Clerk, Historical Committee, the records, have we done anything to figure out who, how, care and control of those records?
Myself and Maggie, the CEO at the library, we have been having ongoing discussions about what to do with those records. We don't have a solution yet, but we are talking about it and thinking about it, because the records that are contained in our archive are a mix of corporate records and historic records. And so we're not sure exactly what we're going to do, but we are talking about it, and that'll be ongoing. So don't have a solution yet, but in discussions. Okay, thank you.
So Chair, now if someone asks you a question, like, do we take time and help look it up, or they tell them to come in and go through stuff, or?
No, so through you, Chair, if someone calls, especially Maggie gets a lot of these phone calls at the library about genealogy questions, so people want to see old census records or farm records, things like that, she will help them review the records. We prefer not to have people touch the records. They're quite fragile, and we can't have people potentially bending a page or ripping a page or smudging something, because they are quite sensitive. So Maggie does help them with those genealogy type requests, local history requests. And then if someone calls looking for an old bylaw, an old corporate record, then I do those requests. So between the two of us, they're all getting met, but.
And are all those records at the library, or are they down in the basement area?
It's a mix of locations, so.
Because I had a question on the
Most
weekend
things,
from someone in Douro, and I'm trying to think what the heck the question was. It was about Douro, and I told the officer that no, where the records were done. But I also told them from my towns to get through.
yeah.
A lot of knowledge from the years back. I forget what the question was,
Yeah, most items through you, the chair to Councillor Johnson, most items pre-1965 are at the library, post-1965 are here, but it is mixed. So if people have questions, just ask them to call me, send me an email, and then I can help them find what they're looking for.
Any other questions, comments? Just, Glenn, do you have any?
Oh, through the chair. Thanks for your report, Marty. Very good.
I have a question, and I kind of touched on it before, but I have a library board meeting this afternoon, so it'd be a good time to bring it up. Seeing we don't have a historical committee at the moment, maybe we can look at something down the road. The historical committee has a section of the library where we have our table that we have our meeting at, and so when you walk in, it's over the right, so we got, and it's designated the historical committee, but the library board, in doing some of their training and processes and stuff with community, and that was kind of wondering, can that area be designated to the library? And so I thought, if there's something I can take back from this afternoon's meeting, that'd be great, but if it's not something that we can accommodate at the moment, that's fine too, but they just thought, hey, that's what I think you may have an answer for me.
I do, yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So now that the historical committee does not exist anymore, it's been disbanded, that area automatically returns to the library. I've already spoken to Maggie about this. The library board had, in the past, I want to say 6-7 months, had already taken over refilling the cabinet and keeping it fresh with ideas and presentations. So the library board has been active in providing those historic type display services to the public anyway. So it's theirs to kind of do with what they wish. And I know they've got some interesting ideas for what happens next. So.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, there's no other questions, comments. I will take a motion to receive with thanks. Mayor Watson, Councillor Johnson, all in favor? Perfect. Thank you very much. And last but not least, our CAO. All yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Continuing to hold our regular staff meetings, our management meetings and staff meetings to try to stay in tune with everything that is happening. Meeting with the CAOs monthly to discuss our countywide initiatives. So Recently, it's been the CMO contract dealing with our recyclables, we did some position recruitment discussions and just general economic development along with kind of those day-to-day issues that we deal with and confer on. A number of contracts that have come up in the last little while. So we dealt with the policing contract, our legal services, the Stony Lake transfer station. We're still dealing with that and getting some advice from our lawyer as well as dealing with the ministry on the ECA. So we'll have something coming back to council very soon on how we're going to move forward with that one. Dealing with both of our insurance contracts. So one, the general liability insurance and our fleet insurance, as well as our benefit renewal. We did get our benefit renewal. I went back and asked for some additional costing on some options. So you'll have a report coming to council at the next council meeting on that. Short-term rentals has certainly taken up a significant amount of time, as well as off-road vehicles, which you also have a report coming forward on that at the next council meeting. Our tree program, you will have a report on that at the next meeting. Our strategic plan, which we're just getting kicked off, so I don't have a specific timeline as far as when that's coming back, but you certainly will hear things coming up on that very shortly. HR matters in general, I keep telling the staff, we're gonna have a full complement, it's fine, and I feel like every time we get there, something happens, so, but it's good, we're working through it, and I think we're, just trying to keep everybody going, and I know there's been some challenges on the admin end, and we're certainly happy for a new, but it left a gap for us, and building and planning is certainly looking forward to having some support there as well, so we'll get there. I know there's been a lot of transition with finance. Paul didn't really touch on that, but he has spent a significant amount of time as well with Chijo and trying to get him familiarized with our processes and give him the guidance that he needs, as well as transitioning from Carol Ann to Donna and that sort of thing. So there's been lots happening with that department as well. And I think just in general, I mean, clearly everybody is quite busy. So, I kind of support the staff where I can and work through those challenges that they have and keep things moving along.
Thank you very much. Questions? If we have no,
Through the chair, thanks for your report, Lana. Lana, just, you touched on the OVR or the ATVs for better. Is this report that's coming at the next meeting? I've been asked by different people. Is the meeting that, is that just on the county portion of it, or is this including the township portion as well?
Through the chair, to the deputy mayor, it is going to include both. So there was direction from council to come back with some information about opening roads municipally wide.
Yep.
So I've divided the report in two sections, one specifically to the county issue that we dealt with and the information that came back there. And then subsequent to that, just some general information, if council decides to move forward with opening roads outside of that portion, what we will have to look at as a municipality. So it will be broken down into both sections.
Okay,
so it'll
so
cover both of the direction of council.
coming to the October 17th meeting.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Councilor Johnson.
And through the chair, when we get our insurance, when we go to do our budget now, will they be down the road coming out and going over our insurance and cost and everything? There's in the past, there's always been insurance on the council people for traveling and that. I just want to know if we will be talking to them about some of this stuff.
Through the chair, Councillor Johnson, if you're speaking specifically to the benefit coverage, I can certainly provide, we could have the gentleman from Mosey, but I can certainly provide you with an overview. I'm not sure if we included the PowerPoint that was provided, but we can include that on the agenda and I can go through that. Or Jeff could attend virtually. There is an option for council to participate and we can talk, you can give me a call and we can chat about what that option is for you specifically. But there is an option that council can join our group benefit plan depending on age requirements and what other coverage that you may or may not have in place.
Yeah, because I know in the past, there was always a thing there for people on council. And like I'm looking at out of country traveling, we always used to get a card to say that we were covered. And I just wanted, I know what went on in the past 4 years, but before that, we used to get that. And they would come out and go over with us, of course, the costing of the new year, and then those questions. So maybe I just need to see you, but
Sure, you can certainly get in touch with
so
me.
are we booked with them for how long? When does their contract end?
So the contract renewal is as of November 2023. It renews for the next year. Obviously, staff when they come on board, they're all offered the benefits. Some have other coverage, so they will waive their health and dental portion, still covered for their life, their accidental death and dismemberment, their short-term and their long-term disability. It also gives them the opportunity, if their spouse has coverage and they happen to lose coverage, they can then come onto the plan. There's no medical requirement or anything like that. Obviously, the premiums are covered by the municipality, so anybody who requires benefits is covered. With council, it is an option for you to join the plan. It does allow you benefits until 65. So anything outside of that, there is also a small component in our liability portion, which is, I think there's a critical illness portion actually, but again, I think that caps out at 70. So if you want to give me a call directly, we can talk about
Gotta
that.
get on the suit, because I'm a little over 60, so I gotta get on, get on that soon.
We can go through all of that for sure.
But it was a travel one that I used to always have a card to.
Yeah.
To the other country.
So the travel component is part of the health benefit. So you would, if you are coming on for the health benefit, you would receive all the drug coverage and that sort of thing. And then the travel benefit is built into that health benefit. So if it's only travel you're looking for, it may or may not be worth it.
Just touching on what Ray said there, yeah, I think when I was still working, I think one maybe my first or second term of council, and I used to do travel outside of it. And yeah, I've never been on the township benefits because of course I hadn't worked like that, but we did have and it was just being on council at one time, and it's probably changed like everything else, but yeah, Dave used to give us a card to take with us when we went, like, so when I went to South Africa, I had this card that the township plan covered me being away, even though I wasn't part of the benefit package. I had no part, whatever, so that could very well change, but yeah, raise rate at one time, that was something that councilors were automatically covered for, so.
Did it say get out of jail free? Did it say get out of jail free?
I would pay for that, I would pay for that part. And getting back, and I know I mentioned at the last meeting, so we got the tree replacement project, that was really, really well received. A lot of happy people on that one. And hoping it'll maybe run again another year. We'll just have to see what goes on. And do we have a real quick, just general on the joint building project where it's sitting at the moment?
So through the rest of the committee, we are still working through the land contract that is in place. So that is we are supposed to have that completed by December the 31st. I'm working diligently to try to sort that out so we can have something come back to council to finalize that. But there are some concerns with where the entrance is and that sort of thing that we're trying to work through right now, along with our lawyer as well as the owner of the property there. So as soon as I have something, I will come back to council and provide you with an update.
Excellent, thank you. Well, if that's everything, then I will entertain a motion to receive the thanks. Councilor Johnson, Deputy Nelson, all in favor? Excellent, thank you very, very much. Well, I think that concludes our reports. New business to be requested for the next meeting. Is there anything that council has that they'd like brought forward for the next committee that will meet, which will be the 12th of December?
I don't know their business, but we were going to also maybe look at about if we were having a Christmas party.
Okay.
Maybe look into that. We'll we do that now or later. Or just because things are getting close and the dates are getting filled up.
Now you're talking the one that like staff and council.
Or township. Yeah.
Yeah, like we used to have with our volunteers and so on and so forth. Okay. Just so I'm clear because.
Yeah, that's what my question is. That's something we have to look at now or later. Or
Is there anything that we've looked at the moment as of yet or no? Or?
Through this, I'm just looking for an email that it says.
So we grab it, very fine.
So you're through the chair to the committee. The Christmas parties that have been held historically was prior to my time, so I don't have a recollection or a template to follow for sure. We certainly have not budgeted for a Christmas party. So if it's something that, council wants staff to look into, I would certainly take your recommendation and guidance and we can come back and provide something, but we would have to have a budget allocation as well, because we wouldn't have anything specifically in place to hold a Christmas party for the township.
well, to the chair, in the past years, 4 years or whatever, did you have a Christmas party or no?
Well, when COVID hit, no.
No.
No. So once COVID hit, they went by the wayside. And, but but in the past, and I'm sure you know, before the past, it was council and their spouses staff and their spouses and volunteers for different committees that we got, and we would have dinner upstairs in the town hall that was catered to, like whether Dawn did it or whoever, Dawn, yeah. But yeah, it would just be a Christmas dinner that, and Sandy usually showed up with a few gifts for, you know, draw prizes and so on and so forth. But that's basically what it was. It was just more of a thank you for our volunteers, I think at that time, you know, to incorporate that in, to give them something, and for staff to, and council to have a, get together. So that's what it involved. So I think whether, I don't know what kind of costs involved in that, but that's what we did historically.
To the chair, I think Martina knows all about this.
She's probably been on.
I've organized quite a few.
Anyway, if it's something come back, you know, in the next little while, whatever, just to council to tell us, you know, yes, no, what the cost is, where will we get the money if we do have such a thing. I guess that's kind of what we need to know, right? Is that kind of what you want to know?
Well, it's just at times, you know, I've got a lot of other things going on, and we're getting things booked, and it is always usually on the weekends that we need to know.
Through you, I think, I mean, I don't know what staff is going to be able to report to us in time as to, you know, costs. Perhaps you can tell us what costs could be, but in terms of budget, if we haven't set aside a budget on it this year, I don't know how we can necessarily materialize the funds to do that this year. I would, you know, to your point, Councillor Johnston, it is a busy time of year for all of us, including staff. And yes, if we are going to do something, anything, it'd be good to get it on the calendar, but, you know, maybe in light of the fact that we don't have anything budgeted for it this year, that we look at taking a pass on it and perhaps looking at something for a future budget, if that's something that we're able to put in the budget. And account for next year in theory, so that it can be properly planned and organized. If there is something, I mean, there's a lot in workplace culture now too, where people don't, like staff, maybe don't really look forward to the Christmas parties, potentially. So even, and not to say that we shouldn't recognize our staff and volunteers, because we should, but maybe there's another way that we can do that would, you know, honor and respect their time. You know, because they're busy, hockey and family and other happenings as well. So perhaps if the request is for staff to look back and look at what options could be for us for recognizing staff and volunteers, you know, over the holidays, and if there is budget, that we look at allocating budget for next year. I don't know, just kind of throwing ideas out there, just given the fact that we're already in mid-October.
Through the chair. Also, back in the day, I know, I always appreciated what council give a Christmas party. A lot of the road staff, it got so they would not come, and that some of them had asked for, well, I guess they felt slighted, and I'm just going to tell you that really what actually took place. A lot of the full-time staff felt they were treated the same thing as a volunteer that worked part-time, and they were very upset about that. And kind of in a way, I know through different staff meetings that was conveyed to Dave, and when it went to council, I don't know, I was never involved in that, but I know when it went to council, it came back and they were told no, that they were going to be treated the same way as volunteers. So I know that caused a little bit of friction, and most of them, and if you look at typically the history, most of them after they were told no, they said, forget it. They kind of wanted, and it wasn't that they didn't want council involved or council to come, but they felt that council, like they'd asked for a change in a venue or a change in something to happen. And that was a lot of the comments around the table, and from different staff, like everybody kind of had that comment, and most of that was their comment, and so then the participation went down. So I just throw that out.
Through the chair, I think both of those comments are important, and I think you're right, the culture has changed. You know, to ask staff, some of them who don't live in town, some of them have young children, to come back on a Saturday night to a catered dinner in the town hall is probably not going to be received as it is intended by council. And I don't want to create a rift in any way, one side or the other. You know, there's a lot of things that have changed, I think, and, you know, having alcohol served and people leaving here and the liability that goes along with that. So there would be a lot of things that we would have to look at. I'm not sure that a weekend Christmas dinner is something that I would recommend going forward with. We did, the first year I was here, I did come to council, we did gift cards for all the staff because we couldn't do a Christmas party. We couldn't even do it from a staff level. Last year, we actually planned for a Christmas lunch, and I think we ultimately did it virtually, because again, it got shut down with COVID. And as much as COVID, you know, we don't anticipate being shut down. Personally, our Thanksgiving dinner was canceled because my parents had COVID. So, you know, that's not gone, and having a group of people right now might not be the best option. So maybe further to Mayor Watson, if we look to it for next year, and maybe we look at a luncheon, something that's a little less formal than what's been done in the past. So council has an opportunity to thank the staff and volunteers, and everybody feels appreciated, and it's not that formal obligation of a weekend, and everybody can participate.
Awesome.
Through the chair, I think also, you know, people, particularly even volunteers, this is particularly staff, but I think there's just since the pandemic, general consensus that people want their time. And Alana, I'm not going to comment on your Thanksgiving, but when if I have Thanksgiving plans and suddenly they're canceled because of something like that, it feels like a bit of a relief all of a sudden, right? It's like, oh, good, we don't have to do that after all. Not that I don't love spending time with my family, but it's a bit of a commitment, right? So speaking of, you know, the gift of time, have we not, I want to say 3 years ago, we made some changes to our, I'm going to get the policy incorrect, but basically we shut down the office now effectively between Christmas and New Year's, and people now have the option to use their vacation time or whatever to take that as paid or unpaid. Doesn't help with the public works guys. Can we get a snowstorm? That's just the reality of public works, unfortunately, and snow removal. But we have, even though we're not necessarily doing any kind of Christmas party for staff, they do have now the gift of time by being shut down during that in between. Am I right?
Through the chair, we did that. It had always been shut down. There was 2 personal days allocated to staff, and most of the internal staff would save those personal days, because if it was 2 days, that would cover off between Christmas and New Year's, and then maybe use 1 vacation day. It became such an administrative nightmare for finance, because 2 days actually works out to 13.8 hours as opposed to 14 hours. So if it was a Tuesday and a Wednesday, they were scrambling for 0.2 hours to cover it off. So when we redid the compensation agreement, we put it in to say we're closed between Christmas and New Year's. Staff no longer get 2 personal days. If it's 2 days, if it's 3 days, it doesn't matter. Obviously, if Public Works ends up with a snowstorm, they get called in, and they, you know, be able to take that time at another time or bank the hours. But essentially, yes, we are closed between Christmas and New Year's. Nobody's expected to use their vacation time, and they don't have to allocate any personal days. They don't have them anymore. So it was just sort of a wash. Yes, if there's a year that there's 3 days, staff gets the benefit of the 3rd day.
Councilor Johnson.
Yeah, one more comment to the chair. What we have done in the past too is that when they had different committees, they seem to be little stronger committees in those days, like the arena mooring and the library board. No, that's not strong. But the thing is, what they have done in the past also is at their last meeting, come up with some goodies or something, and so we've done that in the past too, just to you know, thanks for them and thanks for whoever's on the board and everything else. So I mean, that's another option of doing something small within the groups you're in with. That we've done that in the past.
Through the chair, we can certainly facilitate something for, you know, our couple of committee groups that we have. Obviously, our short-term rental group is no longer together, but even when we did the gift cards for staff, I also went and got gift cards from the Butter Tart Factory and just sent a thank you and a Christmas card out to all of the volunteers that year, so that they were recognized. But you know, we can certainly do something from the committee level.
And if I may throw in my 2 cents worth, please, just on what Deputy Mayor Nelson said. And I do remember, like, a lot of roads department people didn't come to that Christmas dinner. That was a combination of, I guess another option would be is to split, my staff does have a Christmas party, or I shouldn't say did always have an internal Christmas party with just staff. So that's great, you know, they probably don't want council there, but regardless, but you know, you could also have a council one with just volunteer groups without staff. And I got, so you're just dealing with the groups, you know, have a Christmas dinner. So we have a Christmas dinner, but it's with our volunteers, so we got, and you know, just for staff appreciation. I mean, yeah, we don't have to come to a staff one, but we could certainly send in, you know, a nice thank you, whatever, from council for everything that everybody's done all the years. So I got just, you know, just some different points to think about. There's nothing set in stone that's going to be easy, but anyway, just some food for thought and see what happens. And yeah, maybe if we got lots of time to think about it for next year, that's fine with me. I mean, this year is getting pretty tight, but it'd still be nice to do something. But again, we could probably just council would set something. I mean, it wasn't the first time we've done something like that. Anyway, go ahead.
Sure, if I can just make one more comment when we talk about Christmas. I think we also need to be aware that not everybody celebrates Christmas.
That's
And
true.
as we're becoming more multicultural within the office, you know, that might not be a specific celebration that, you know, they're going to feel that is really their culture. So I think if we're going to look at a celebration, it has to be something that is a lunch, that is a thank you. You know, maybe Santa arrives, maybe he doesn't, but something we just have to be mindful that not everybody celebrates the same.
And one final point on that through you, Chair, is there, you know, looking at potentially separating volunteer from staff recognition. There is, I don't recall the month, but a month in the year that is actually a volunteer appreciation month, where you see a lot of nonprofit organizations holding events to recognize their volunteers. I know when I was with the library board years ago, I organized a volunteer tea and, you know, held it in the town hall. It was probably, there was no, I don't know if there was any chargeback departmentally, right? But, you know, as a municipality, we can facilitate that by offering a space for that to happen. And literally, you know, the budget on that was pretty minuscule, right? So, there are ways that it can be done, but perhaps recognizing volunteers not in the holidays proper as we identify them as, but you know, within that volunteer month recognition time might be something that we can look at as well. It's April. Yeah.
Sounds good. Any other questions, comments?
Well, I'd just like to make a motion or follow a motion that you would bring it back to the chair, bring it back some of the discussion with us at our next council meeting, which is fast, coming up very soon. But just the way we can put this to bed for the year, you know, whether we just want to have them at their own committee meetings, have a little something, or can it all together, or whatever. I'd like to, you bring a report back, just a little report back that we can close the year off, knowing what we're going to do. Okay, so I think that's.
Sorry, well, in the next meeting, too.
It won't be.
The November meeting.
Yeah, Martina would need my report in 31 minutes. It's my time. But we could bring something back to the first meeting in November.
Okay. That's, I made that motion.
Okay, someone second on?
I'll second
Any other discussion? All in favor?
it.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
I have one last question, Lana, and it's just, maybe I heard Dawn wrong. For the CBO position, you said next week you're doing interviews?
So the administration position,
The administration
Closed,
position?
yes, so
CBO one is.
CBO is still open to the end of the month,
All right.
yes.
I wasn't sure, but I thought he said this, the CBO position was interviewing next week, and I thought, this is the October 27th we're closing, so I just thought, just in case it's a public document, if it was September when it closed, okay.
Yeah, no, the CBO position closes October 27th, but the administrative position, building and planning is closed.
It's
and,
closed.
there won't be any
Perfect.
submissions.
Okay, I think that's pretty well got everything for that, and as far as I know, we're looking pretty good for no closed session. And next committee meeting is December 12th, as I was saying.
10 a.m.
Yeah, to the motion adjourned. Mayor Watson, Deputy Mayor Nelson, all in favor? Excellent, thank you very, very much, everyone, much appreciated. I still do think these are very, very beneficial. I know they take a couple hours, but it's a couple hours that we can't do.
He said
in
it was.
council.
Yep.
I do appreciate staff